Welcome to episode 8 of Your Life is the Medicine. Thank you for being here. Today, I'm recording this the Friday before Thanksgiving, and I really want to talk about how we stay connected to ourselves over the holidays. Whatever holiday or holidays that you celebrate, how do we stay true to ourselves? This is the time of year where we can be overwhelmed by obligations or the feeling of obligation, by all of the things we want to do, all of the things we feel like we should do, by holiday festive foods, by maybe more alcohol, less sleep, less outside time. Our routines are easily disrupted. And for many of us, it leads to not feeling good in our bodies and even having the joy that we want the holiday season to bring disappear, right? And so what I'm going to take you through is sort of how I think about staying connected to myself and how practices that can help to stay connected to ourselves, and really thinking about what it is that you want to cultivate with your holiday season, whatever your holiday season looks like. And so that is where we're headed. So let's begin. And I'd invite you to just take a nice deep breath, whether you're listening to this as you drive or sit or wherever you're listening to this, like really start to feel like what it is to be in your body. And we talk a lot about embodiment, like it's a very catchy word nowadays, and yet most of us don't spend our waking hours embodied. And the first time I had a therapist teach me about, or begin to teach me more about embodiment, she asked me to close my eyes and asked if when I close my eyes, do I feel like I'm in my body or do I feel like I'm looking at myself, like I'm outside of my body looking back at myself? And for me, it was the latter. And I've learned how to be in my body, and I've learned how to look back at myself when it's helpful. But just beginning to think about, what does it feel like to be in your body? If you're in your body, can you feel your feet connect to whatever it is that's below you? I happen to be standing and I can feel my feet on the floor and I can feel the alignment of my skeleton, and I can tune in to different parts of my body. I can feel into my pelvis and pelvic bowl. I can feel into my heart center. You can feel into my throat, into my voice as I talk. But much of the days, especially busy days, I think we feel the thoughts running around in our heads, but we don't often feel our bodies. And many of us don't even feel our bodies' hunger cues, or we feel like we have to go to the bathroom, but we try to push it off as long as possible. Or we feel tired and we tell ourselves to keep going because we need to. And so these are ways we learn to disconnect from our body, and the practices to over time, little by little, reconnect and choose when we are connected to our body so that we can listen to the wisdom in our body, because in real time, our body is telling us what it likes and what it doesn't like. It will tell you when your boundary is being crossed. If you are talking to someone and a boundary is being crossed, if you are connected to your body, you will likely feel something. For me, it's sometimes this rising irritation or frustration in my chest, or this desire to this feeling of wanting to push that person away, or this feeling of me wanting to escape, right? Those are all sensations that arise for me that tell me that something in my conversation or in an interaction isn't in alignment with how I want to be treated or how I want to show up. And so when we are embodied, when we are in connection with our bodies give us all sorts of wisdom about what is or isn't working, what food feels good in our body or doesn't feel good in our body. And so as we think about moving into the holidays and moving into a busy time of year, building that connection to your body can help serve you in helping you say yes or no to specific things as they come up, right? And so that might look like being invited to a holiday gathering or being asked to donate gifts or volunteer time, and your body saying no, right? And an easy way to sort of connect is whether your body feels expansion or contraction. And so if somebody asks me to do something that feels good in my body, often I feel an opening in my chest, in my heart. Whereas if something doesn't feel good in my body, that same place, that my chest or my heart center feels closed. And I just feel this like, no, I don't want to do that. And then sometimes my brain will start to say, oh, you should do that. But the wisdom that we're trying to listen to as much as we can is the wisdom of our body, because it is often more true than what our head is telling us to do. So the first step in staying connected to ourselves is knowing what it feels like to be connected to the wisdom of our body, and then coming back to that over and over and over again. The next thing is probably being honest. So we listen to our body, and we have to be honest with ourselves about when we're saying yes to something. Is it a full body yes, or is it a yes because I feel like I should, or because this is the family tradition and we have always done it this way? Like, is the yes from joy and desire, or is the yes from obligation? And if it is from obligation, that doesn't always mean we have to say no, right? Like, we are humans living in a complicated world and we do have patterns. But even if you're doing it out of obligation, the question is this something I need to work on for future years? Is there a way I can make this better this year? Is there a way that I can, so if the example is going to a holiday party or participating in a holiday activity, can I decrease the time that I'm there so I show up and feel like I did what that part of me wants to do, but I also honor that maybe it's not the best thing for me by putting boundaries around the time or putting boundaries around how much energy I'm giving to something. So paying attention to whether the yes is from joy or the yes is from something else like obligation. And if you need to do something to try to better honor yourself. And again, that something might be putting boundaries around time or energy or an exchange. Like, I'm going to do this because I feel like I should, and I'm going to make sure I go for a walk so that I take care of me. So those are the first couple of things. The other thing is really, this is the time of year, if we think about where we are seasonally, we're moving into more and more darkness. Like, this is the time of year that is more yin. It's the deep, sacred feminine. It is a time to be internal and within, and is a time to slow down and rest. And yet the holidays asks us to almost do the exact opposite. The holidays often feel like we need to speed up our pace and have longer hours and more socialization and more of everything. And so really noticing when those things feel good in your body and when those things feel depleting. And because we're all different in terms of what fuels us and what helps us feel good, it may be that more social engagements fuel you and you actually do feel really good. And you still may need to balance that with more rest, but it may be that you're getting fueled and you need to take care of yourself in other ways. But it may be that those social engagements and being awake later at night really deplete you. And then you might be much more selective in terms of how many of those things you do. And so thinking seasonally about what is being asked and how you can create some slowing down and more time to go within and more time to rest, while balancing that with the desires of the holiday or the demands of the holiday, whichever word feels more resonant with you. And so how do we balance the energetics of the season and what our bodies often feel from the darkness and from the cold and just what's happening in nature? How do we balance that with our human world, our modern human world, with lots of things we could do all night long, right? And so thinking, balancing rest and activity, and balancing sort of internal, going inside and honoring your own internal world with balancing the sort of being out in the world energy and where the balance feels right for you. And then the next thing I would say is it is so, so important to maintain regular routines and maintain your focus on your own health and well-being. So often women especially let go of the things that we do to take care of us when the demand to do all of the other things becomes higher, right? And so when there's a lot more things to do, whether it's buying gifts or, making sure there are holiday cards or participating in work holiday events, right? There are all of these extra things that get added to our plates over the holidays, cooking, socializing, planning. And often women let go of the things that nourish us because there's only so much time in the day. And it is so, so important, as the world is asking more of you, to really commit to yourself and commit to the routines and the structures that help your body be well. So prioritizing sleep and rest, prioritizing movement, prioritizing healthy food. And these are not things to be rigid about, right? We are all going to skip a workout or 2 or 3. And yet it is noticing when you are letting go of your routines that help you and saying, oops, I need to get back to that. Like, I notice that my body doesn't feel as good because I haven't moved as much. And if you have big emotional things happening around the holidays, because the holidays can bring up a lot of big emotions, especially if you've had loss or if there's estrangement or other types of emotional pain, of deep pain, the holidays can really amplify those emotions. And so if the holiday season is bringing grief and pain or anger or any of those big emotions, it is extra important to really double down on how you take care of yourself. And I love the idea that these routines are anchors, right? They're not rigid must-dos, but they're anchors to help you stay grounded, to help you stay connected, to help keep giving your life structure so that you don't completely lose connection to yourself, right? The structure, if movement is part of your regular practice, then as much as possible, maintaining your regular movement practice allows you to stay connected to that part of you much more easily. And with food, there is so much food around that often isn't food that feels good in our bodies, and yet socializing and eating are part of the holidays for many of us. And so again, it's giving yourself grace to partake of whatever it is in the moment that you want to partake of, whether that's alcohol or sugar or other holiday foods. Like, again, it is not helpful to be rigid and beat ourselves up over what we did or didn't do, but it is trying to be intentional about, yes, I'm going to have this much of this because I want to, and I'm going to limit myself here. Or I had a lot yesterday and I really want to get back to like healthy food that helps my body come back to balance today, right? So it is not about being rigid. It is not about beating ourselves up. It's not about restricting and telling ourselves we can't have any of it, but it is about being intentional and coming back to balance as quickly as we can. Hopefully that makes sense. And then I wanted to go back to honoring emotions and the idea that the holidays can bring up a lot of big emotions for people. And that's okay. And again, it is sometimes if you perceive that everyone else is feeling joyful and you alone are feeling sad or experiencing grief, that can make you feel very isolated. And frankly, there is a lot of people for whom the holidays brings up a lot of grief. And so I'd really encourage you to honor that grief and again, to get whatever support you need. My last podcast, episode 7, was about grief. So if that is coming up for you, maybe that would be helpful. But really honoring whatever comes up, whether it's just grief or just anger, or it's grief alongside joy, or it's fear alongside something else, really just honoring whatever comes up and knowing that it's all just the human experience. It's all part of your journey and part of who you are, and it speaks of what's important to you and what has been beautiful for you or hard for you. And the last thing I'll say about the holidays and about being intentional, and this is sort of advice for anything hard, but really thinking about if I know I'm going into a situation that for me is more difficult or takes more energy, thinking about how I prepare myself beforehand, right? So if interacting with family is difficult, or you're going into a really difficult doctor's appointment, right? Thinking ahead of time, how do I meet myself where I'm at so that I can be in the best place possible to go into this situation? And so maybe you do some movement, maybe you do some dance, maybe you light a candle and journal, maybe you talk with someone who can help you feel better, but really being intentional beforehand about how I get myself in the best place possible to enter into this challenging situation, and then being intentional on the other side about how you take care of yourself after you've done this. So being in large groups or with families or new social situations is very taxing, or maybe it's that you're alone for the holidays and you wish that you were with a big family, right? Like whatever it is, if you know that that situation is very challenging, it is preparing for that situation. It is being in that situation which is with as much compassion and presence as you can. And then on the other side, it's how do I take care of myself? Because most of the time those situations deplete us of energy in some way. And so how do I nourish myself? What do I need to bring myself back to balance, to bring myself back to a regulated nervous system? And again, maybe it's movement, maybe it's a hot bath, maybe it's sleep, maybe it's journaling, maybe it's reading a book, maybe it's healthy food, whatever it is. Being intentional about preparing, being mindful and present while you're in the situation, and giving yourself, breaks, or giving yourself permission to pause if needed during the situation. And then on the other side, how do you take care of yourself again? So these are the ways that I would think about staying connected to yourself during the holiday. I would love to hear kind of what works for you. Feel free to share in the comments. And I would love to invite you to pause. And if you're in a place you can close your eyes, to really close your eyes. And again, feel into your body. Feel into your heart center, to your pelvis, feel into your feet on the floor, giving your body gratitude for all that it walks through during the day, for all that it carries you through. Our bodies work so hard, and often we don't acknowledge that. And then asking yourself, and what do I need to feel anchored this season? What would help me navigate this season with more compassion for myself, with more ease? What do I choose to release this season? Are there things I'm doing or ways I'm going about my life that could be released? Where do I want to say yes? And where do I want to say no? Or does my body say yes? And where does my body say no? And what's one small ritual that will help me return to myself every day? staying connected to yourself can help you cultivate the joy that we desire during this season. So many of us long for the joy and the beauty and the magic, and yet we get lost in the obligation and the busyness and completely disconnected from ourselves and our body's wisdom. And instead of joy, we feel depleted or like we're surviving or like we're orchestrating everyone else's joy. So staying connected to yourself, staying anchored to what nourishes you, really honoring the yeses and the nos, that can help you create and honor and be in the magic. And I wish you a magical season and so much compassion and so much ease. And again, I would absolutely love to hear from you what works and what doesn't work and where you find yourself growing in your capacity to stay connected to yourself.